you're very welcome to our Mental Health Engagement and Recovery webinar series. My name is Aisling Duffy and I work on the Mental Health Engagement and Recovery National Team. Today is the third in our series of webinars and it is facilitated by Mid West ARIES. The topic today is resilience at Christmas. I'm going to take you through some of the housekeeping for today. As participants, your name and picture will not appear on the screen. You can ask questions via the questions and answers function on your screen, and your host will remind you when you can do this. The webinar will last for approximately 60 minutes, and please do enjoy it all. Margaret, I'll hand over to you now.
Thanks so much, Aisling. I'm delighted to be here with our team this morning. My name is Margaret Keane and I am the Education, Training and Development Officer here at Mid West ARIES. Prior to COVID, we were operating in the community in Limerick, Clare and North Tipperary, where we co-produce and co-deliver a range of what we hope is our inspirational modules on recovery, education and well-being. Obviously post-COVID, like a lot of people, we've had to rethink how we deliver our training or our modules rather, and we've gone online, and I'm delighted to say that it's actually been a really positive experience for myself and for all of us here at Mid West ARIES. We love it, and actually at the end of this webinar, if it's something you feel you want to check out, I'll share a link with you where you can actually see the kind of modules that we actually deliver. So yeah, I've mentioned there in terms of co-producing, co-facilitating, everything that we do at Mid West ARIES, co-production is really at the heart of it. And what does that mean? Well, it means that we speak to people with lived experience of mental health issues, their carers, supporters, and family members, and also staff working in the mental health services when we're building any kind of learning content. And that makes for really powerful learning outcomes. That's what we've discovered ourselves, and it gives an authenticity to what we do. So today we're looking at resilience at Christmas. And why Christmas? Well, we know it's a very stressful time of the year, none more so than this year. So we're looking at ways we can actually support our well-being at Christmas, and resilience is a big thing, as we know, in terms of keeping us safe and well. So just what we'll be doing today. So basically, we're going to have a conversation. It's very much like the kind of workshops that we deliver online. As I said, I'm joined by most of the team here at Mid West ARIES. I'm going to introduce you to those in a moment. You probably see their lovely faces in front of you right now. Yeah, we'll have a discussion. Now, we really want to make this as interactive as possible. So there is a Q&A button just below me somewhere there. And we would love to get your questions on resilience, and particularly around this time of the year. We'll put that to the panel and we'll just have a discussion. After that, we'd love to share some co-production tips on how to support or build your resilience, that came out of one of our co-production sessions. And as we always say, the wisdom is always in the room, so we love to share that content with you. And finally, we'll end with a lovely, hopefully beneficial grounding exercise. We're all really busy at the moment, so we'll take that moment to just pause, breathe. It's only 3 minutes long, and hopefully you can take that along with you and maybe build it into your own resilience toolbox, put it in there. Anyway, without further ado, let me introduce the panel. And I'm first going to hand you over to my colleague, Mike O'Neill. Mike, how are you doing? Do you want to say hi?
Yeah, hello. Good morning, everybody, and it's great to have people here. It's again, I work here in Mid West ARIES, doing the job for quite a while now, and yeah, I love this stuff. This is the best bit. You know, it's the learning, the sharing, it's the adult education piece, learning from each other, and yeah, this is it. So really looking forward to today. Thanks, Margaret. Yeah.
Thanks, Mike, and great to have you here. Mike is usually my co-conspirator on all of our workshops, so I'm hoping he'll keep us in check in terms of timings today, because he knows what we're like when we get talking about all things well-being. So thanks, Mike, for being here. It's great to have you. Let's see who's next on my list. Eileen, do you want to say hi?
Morning, Margaret. Thanks a million. Great to be online this morning with everybody. I'm an education facilitator as well with Mid West ARIES, and like Margaret said, really looking forward to the conversation and hope you all get some tips for resilience at Christmas. Thanks, Margaret.
Thanks, Eileen. Noelle, how are you doing?
Morning, Margaret. Doing good. Looking forward to the chat today, as usual. And like you said, we can run with things sometimes when we all start talking, which is a good thing because it means we're passionate and interested in what we do. So again, I'm a recovery education facilitator based in North Tip and with their Mid West ARIES as well. So thanks, Margaret.
Perfect, Noelle. Thanks so much. And finally, Amy, lovely to have you here. Do you want to say hi?
Hi, Margaret, and good morning to everybody. I'm delighted to be here today, and I'm really looking forward to today's discussion. I'm a recovery education facilitator here at Mid West ARIES also.
Perfect. Thanks, Amy. Again, lovely to have you here. And I suppose we may as well get the ball rolling. That's what we're here for after all. So we'll start with a really simple but can be complicated question, because I know when we run our Let's Talk Resilience workshop, this comes up again and again. What exactly is resilience? So I'm going to put it to the panel here in terms of what does resilience mean to you? What does it look like? So let's see. Amy, do you want to start there?
I would describe resilience as advancing through adversity. And what I mean by that is we all face challenges, both big and small, throughout our lives. And we need to know how to overcome these in order to live meaningful, purposeful, enjoyable lives, and in essence, our best lives. So in a nutshell, that's what resilience means to me, Margaret.
Brilliant. Thanks, Amy. That's a really nice description of what resilience actually is. So thank you for sharing that. Let me see. Eileen, how about you? What about resilience? What does resilience look like to you?
Thanks, Margaret. I think for me, it's the capacity to recover from difficulties quickly. It's an inner resolve. When I think about it, resilience, it's not like a trampoline where it's up and down. It's more like kind of climbing a mountain without a trail map. It takes time, it takes strength. You need help from people around you. You probably experience setbacks along the way, but eventually you'll reach the top and you'll see how far you've come. So I think, Margaret, that's what resilience means to me.
Oh, that's a really nice description as well. Lovely. Mike, how about you? How do you feel in terms, what does resilience look like to you?
And I suppose, again, it is about its coping with difficult times. And I think the beauty of having a conversation like this, and hopefully the sharing and the learning, that will be presented today, other people can learn from it, because resilience can be built. While yes, some people are born with it, some people are better than others. And that's what I love about these conversations. I never stop learning as well. And so again, we always pick up on tips, strategies, how to cope. And yes, but it definitely can. Everybody can work on building their resilience. And that's what gets them through the next time they face challenges and difficulties.
Yeah, I love that, Mike. That's a real message of hope. Kind of ties in with our message, which is recovery is possible. The fact is that you can add to your resilience toolbox that will get you through hard times in life. It doesn't mean it's an easy thing to do. It can be difficult. It can be a challenge. And I remember at one of our workshops, we talked about that bounce back ability that people can have. And I remember my instinct was to say, well, is it really bounce back? And I know it's not a direct bounce back. It's a kind of bounce up and down if you think about it. So there's work involved in building resilience. And as we all know, I'm always saying I'm a big fan of failure-based learning. You learn by your mistakes and you move on. And that's what resilience really is, I think, for me.
Yeah. And I think it's really important because, again, I say, well, while we can build it, and I mean, we're here today having this conversation because, correctly, as you just said, Margaret, it's nothing easy about it. There's nothing easy about mental health recovery. This is a tough business we're in. And, for ourselves and supporting others, if we have loved ones out there. And like I say, when you talk about the bounce, it's also a reference to the non-linear. It's one of the characteristics of CHIME. It's that up and down, bounce, 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 bounce. So again, it's it just takes hard work.
Yeah, it does. And so listen, I'd like to put that to all the participants that are out there. What does resilience mean to you? If you want to share that, even not as a question, but just your insight, we'd love to hear from you. Or if you just want to ask a question to the panelists based on just that opening gambit, I suppose, of that question. So, right, we've had a quick look at resilience. And now we're going to see, well, because it's really a buzzword. That's what I've found in the last few years. Resilience, in terms of like social emotional learning, building capacity, all of those things. So why is resilience important in mental health and recovery? Noelle, do you want to come in there?
Yeah, thanks, Mar. And I agree with you. You get a lot of buzzwords over the years for different things, and resilience is one that has come to the forefront for a good few years, but it is an important one though, and when it comes to mental health, it definitely is, because it can protect ourselves from letting issues get too overwhelming for us and out of our control. And for me personally, I find it's a mindset at times. I have a stubborn little voice inside my head that chips away at me, like, when I start feeling sorry for myself or things, get too difficult, and it won't let me stay down. But, I have discovered that is resilience, and I find it's important to acknowledge those issues, those lows or challenges that you're faced. But I suppose I've discovered that myself, my inner personal strength, gets me to deal with these things, and puts me in the right frame of mind to deal with these things. And I realize if I can't do anything about something, then that's fine. I have to acknowledge that and let it go or move through it. And that's personal growth for me, and that's, it's only when you think about these things, it's something that you do, but you mightn't realize what they are. And it is personal growth through your life. And this helps me personally maintain my well-being and my mental health. And it's something I developed over time through personal growth. It's not always easy. Like, that's one thing we have to say, like, it's great to say these things, but it's not always easy, and it's something that has to be built upon. And I find, especially at this time of year, resilience can go out the window, because, Christmas is difficult for people, and not everyone has support or family, or, and especially with COVID as well, on top of everything else as well, it makes it harder. So try and hold on to that resilience, because resilience gives you hope, and hope is something we all need. So, especially to maintain our mental health anyway, and well-being. Well, Margaret, that's my interpretation anyway.
No, it's lovely, actually, Noelle. I think what strikes me about that is the self-compassion as well. That if things go wrong, and sometimes you just have to sit with it, rather than take action. And sometimes you need to take action. It's trying to find the wisdom of, what course do I need to take? And I love that fact that you mentioned, it's your personal strength and also your mindset, because, as Mike was saying, in terms of resilience, you can build it, and by changing your mindset, that can definitely build your resilience. Just looking at things in a kind of different way, because as you rightly said, this year in particular, I think Christmas is going to be tough for a lot of people, even from a financial point of view. There's so many people who are on furlough at the moment, maybe have lost their jobs. Christmas, I think, puts extra pressure on people anyway. We all want that perfect moment, don't we, with, our families. It's got to look this right way and stuff. And maybe just by letting that go, I'm trying to do myself. I'm talking from experience here. I'm going to really try this year not to go the perfectionist route. It really doesn't matter, as long as if you can be with the people you love in some way or fashion. I think that'll really help. Mike, do you want to add anything there in terms of why it's important specifically for mental health?
For mental health, and I suppose we've started RAP training recently, and really challenged in that, and particularly around my mindset, and I suppose around one of the conversations was changing negative thinking to positive thinking, and I've always struggled with that because I can't find the answer, so I kind of sat a little bit with my negative thinking. And so I coined the phrase reverse negativity, whereas because if over the years my negative thinking, so it's changing the perspective of how I look at it. And again, this is only, and I'm still in the middle of this. So again, it's going from my negative thinking. as a component of my wellness toolbox works because it has kept me safe over the years. It has allowed me to check and balance, you know, if I'm in a situation, you know, where I might be experiencing a little bit of mistrust and whatever. So really around my mindset. So it's opened the door, you know, to something quite different. Whereas I always struggle with, you know, you're negative and that's negative thinking. You need to think positive. And I'm struggling to learn that, and I'm still struggling. I suppose one thing I struggle with, whereas I can look at personal growth and say, yes, I can do this, you know, maintaining what.
I think we've just lost you there for a minute, Mike, but listen, we'll just come back to you in a second, Mike, because we've actually just got a really lovely description coming in here. We've just lost Mike there, but we'll just continue. Yeah, we've just got some lovely insight here in terms of one of the attendees. I just want to share it with you. It's knowing your weaknesses and what triggers you. It's also preparing yourself for times you find difficult, especially this time of year or anniversaries, and making sure you ask for help. I think that's it, the asking bit, and have a good support backup in place for the issues that affect you directly, be it mental health phone lines, domestic violence helplines, addiction services, and have all the right supports in place. But mostly, try keeping all in the day and focus on all the good that is going on rather than the negative. And I think that's it. Sometimes when we're kind of overwhelmed with life, particularly at this time of the year, it's hard sometimes to see the positive. So I think that's a lovely way. Again, another comment here before we move on. Okay, yeah, it's more of a comment than a question. Brilliant, thank you so much. Yeah, I did mention the importance of resilience. Absolutely. I've been researching this person's been researching more into resilience specific topics and experience. Resilient grieving would be an area to look at and something I would love to facilitate at some point. Definitely, absolutely. I think, you know, loss of any nature can really rock your resilience and rock your mental health and rock your well-being. So fantastic, and keep the comments coming in. That's absolutely great. So I'm just going to pass you back again. Amy, just again, we'll finish that in terms of why resilience is important in mental health. Do you want to come in on that?
I think, you know, it's been really well summed up so far. And maybe just one final point to add is that, you know, resilience, I think, can really equip people in times of change and stress, you know, such as like starting college or changing jobs, moving homes or moving to a new location, the loss of a loved one, the breakdown of a relationship, financial losses. You know, we need to know how to cope in these times, and we need to have strategies in place in times of uncertainty. And, you know, as Mike mentioned earlier, you know, it's not easy. You know, resilience is something that does need to be worked on, but, you know, it really can help us in times of change and stress, Margaret.
Absolutely. And again, just got another comment here from one of our colleagues at Mayo Recovery College. Karen, it's great to have you here. Resilience means you experience, you feel, you fail, you hurt, you fall, you get up and you keep going. Again, not easy to do, but exactly that. And thanks so much, Karen, for sharing that. So we've looked at why resilience is important for mental health, and we could really go deep into that. We might revisit that again and you know, keep the comments and the questions coming in. And now we look at the kind of strategy part of it. So Noelle, in terms of resilient people, because I always have that question on what would a wise person do when I'm confronted by a challenge of some kind. It really has helped guide me. I hope I'm a wise person myself, but sometimes I get it wrong. So I like to ask that question of myself. But what we're going to ask today is, what do resilient people do? What is it about them that's different, that, you know, makes them better able maybe to cope with challenges?
Yeah, great question, Margaret, and it's an important one, you know. Like sometimes people have resilience inside that you don't even realize they have. So even listening today, you hope they'll get some tips from that, you know. But resilient people will bounce back when things are difficult and they're faced with issues. They know they can cope and get through them. They carry hope, which is a huge part of it, I think, you know, and sometimes they might carry that hope for others as well, and maybe carry the resilient bit for others until they're able to find their own. They connect with people who they can support them, and build a support network, which is really important, because, you know, sometimes like you said, one of the participants had said, asking for help, and that's really huge, and it's important. Ask when you need it. They change the way they think about negative situations, and that's where Mike was coming in there with that. And they move away from negative influences that affect their well-being, because that can drain your resilience. And that's important as well, not to get your resilience drained from other people. And also it's important people will reward themselves for the small achievements, even patting the back, you know, and that's really important to remember. It doesn't have to be a big goal or a little thing, you know, just the simple things every day that we do is really important, and you should reward yourself for those little achievements, and forgive yourself when you make a mistake, because if you don't achieve something you hope for, that's okay. You know, nobody's perfect. And I think especially at this time of year, again, because we are talking about resilience at Christmas as well, that there, like you said, Margaret, there's a lot of demands and pressures put on people to have everything perfect for Christmas, and it's not sustainable, you know, and you don't need to. And I think for me, is don't be hard on yourself. Don't judge yourself, and don't compare yourself to others. And I think if you can do that, and just, you know, what you're doing is fine, and that's fine for you, and where you're at is different to where maybe somebody else is at. So I think they're just some key things, you know, to remember. And I hope you know, people will, you know, that mightn't feel resilient at the moment, they do have it inside of them, you know. Just don't give up, and just carry that hope forward, and you'll get there.
I love that, Noelle, and actually it reminds me of one of the workshops that I attended, Mid West ARIES workshop in Let's Talk Resilience. It was back when we were in the community, and it was, what came out of that was, I saw a couple of people who really struggled with the idea that they were resilient, but the fact that they had got up that morning, maybe they didn't feel like it, but they came to you know, an educational workshop, and you know, really gave of themselves. That's resilience. And I think if you're struggling with the idea of resilience, look at the fact that how much you've come through even in this year. And I'm saying this to myself because I have to remind myself of that. We've all been through an enormous change this year, and we're kind of heading into, hopefully, there's hope on the horizon. Obviously there's vaccines and everything else, but we still have to get through, you know, a few months of this. So like we've been through a lot. We're here together, and we're still here. And it's yeah, I love that, Noelle. Absolutely fantastic.
Can I just add something there, Margaret? Actually,
please.
Sorry, just something that came into my head. It's just in my community, but I'm sure it's happening in a lot of communities. Two key things to me, our community resilience was in COVID. You know, all through this year, some of our local little takeaway restaurants, especially a group of community people got together. The local little restaurants give out free dinners every week to people who were vulnerable and couldn't get out, and the community delivered them. And now at Christmas, the local Gardaí station, people are dropping in things for the elderly people, and the Gardaí are going around to North Tip to give them, it was the nursing homes or the houses, I forget which now, sorry, but to give them little presents just to show that they're thought about, and especially at Christmas when they can't maybe meet up with people, family and that. So to me, that's huge resilience, you know, and when things happen, and through COVID, it's amazing how resilience comes out, and you'll see it all around you.
Yeah, and definitely, I think at the beginning of the lockdown, I think the previous one back in March and April, I found enormous hope in the community, and we as a humanity, I thought we were very, you know, kind to each other, and I hope we bring that forward with us, you know, into next year, that we don't lose that sense of, you know, we're in this together. Yeah, lovely, Noelle. Yeah, please, Mike, come in. Yeah.
Just in the Q&A there, comment from Sarah, and building resilience for frontline workers and healthcare staff is also paramount. So again, these are the people at the front line, and like just to keep compassion fatigue at bay. And I suppose again, we've all heard we can't pour from an empty glass, and you know, so really important. And I think some people, when we look at even the numbers of the amount of healthcare staff that they've even, been exposed to, and being out of work then with COVID-19 as well. And then there's another comment there again that's come in there just for, and it says, how do you remain resilient if you are the subject of false gossip circulating from a former workplace? It's definitely negatively colouring local opinion of me. It's eating me up, and I don't know how to counteract this gossip. My children are also being impacted by the negative false rumours. And I suppose my first response is a human response. That's awful. And it's awful to see somebody in that situation. And children are probably, anything to do with children really affects me personally, because I think they're the most vulnerable people in our society, and it's how we protect them. And then as a parent, I think it's it's just sad to see. And how do you remain resilient in that situation? Difficult.
That's really tough, Mike, because again, when I was looking at that, I was trying to consider how I'd answer it, because it's a really tough situation, and as you said, trying to protect your family in that situation. I think what you need to do is remind yourself of who you actually are. And I can't say ignore it, because I know if I was in that situation, I wouldn't be able to ignore it. If you can, that would be great. I hope you have a support structure around you, somewhere that you can talk to about this. It's really, really important that you have that. I don't know if anybody else would like to come in there. Eileen, do you have any thoughts on that?
I was just thinking, Margaret, maybe just sometimes to get some professional support. I think sometimes, if things are really getting to us, maybe it's good to maybe link in with a GP, or maybe kind of just speak, because it can have impact on the family. And maybe I would just say to be open and honest with your children. I think that's really important, that there's that kind of space to kind of, to tell the truth. And I do believe the truth always does come out, and they know the person you are, and they'll know what their mother is like, or father. I'm not sure Margaret was, and I do believe talking is so paramount, really. And there are a lot of services as well. We might just put up a few links maybe at the end, maybe in the chat. Some kind of youth supports, maybe even. Just to get some family support, because as Mike said, that's really awful, and especially at this time of year, it can really impact the whole family.
Yeah, we don't have access to the chat today, Eileen, so we can't share that. But equally, just the fact that you've come to this morning with all of that on your mind, and that for me shows that there is resilience there. Doesn't make it easy, but I can see that. Is there any other questions there, Mike?
There's one, and it's just, it has the panel consider that a lot of time we are involved in a surfeit of language, that more often the propensity to talk, to invoke psychological, philosophical and spiritual references can become too commonplace, that the underlying challenge of personal equilibrium, as in resilience, is better found through dialogical work, with the primary emphasis on listening, not answering, through learning, knowledge, and suspending of making fast sense of solutions. And that is its meditative practice. And it's followed up again, beyond the formal supports, it's best placed in these strange times to bring the mind heart into a more human alignment. And I like that, because I think, we all have what I describe as our spirit or soul, and it needs to be nourished. And while today we're doing the talking piece, but hopefully there's enough people out there doing the listening. But as I always say, we have two of these and one of them, and there's a reason for it. That the learning takes place through listening. And again, I like that. I love those challenging comments around how we can look at things, because very often what can help us is by changing our perspective of how we see situations, and how we can find solutions. Or sometimes we can find solutions, but it's about about maintenance, what's getting us through, you know, difficult situations. But I love that line there, you know, it in these strange times to bring the mind and heart in a more human alignment. Really deep, good stuff. I like it.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, absolutely. And we've got another one there. I love this. I learned about resilience from a quote from a US Navy SEAL. It goes, "No matter how dark it gets or how much it hurts or how hard you fail, you are never out of the fight." There's a lot of strength behind that quote. Now, sometimes that's a tricky one to deal with. Sometimes that needs energy, but I love that, and I'm going to take that away with me. So thank you for sharing that. That's great.
That comment just reminds me of every time we're, you know, in the acute unit settings, like, and I'm just always blown away by, you know, people's resilience. And I always say, no matter what's happened in your life, you're still here. So something has got you through, and it's to be able to tap into, you know, what you're proactive at. But sometimes there's just stuff we're doing instinctively, and that's always kept us in the game, you know, or in the fight, you know, and we're not aware of what, you know, we are actually doing stuff every day that is helping us build our resilience. And so a part of it is to identify it and build on that. Yeah.
And I think you're absolutely on the money there, Mike, because again, we actually ran a co-production workshop this week on self-care. And again, it's the wisdom in the room. It just leaves you with a phrase or something that just speaks to you. And I know somebody came out with, it's the everydayness of it in terms of self-care. And you can say the same with resilience, because they're very closely linked. Building in, you know, your resilient activities or strategies to every day. Not big things usually, it's the small little choices that we make that makes a big difference. Sorry, Mike, did you want to come in there? I just thought.
Yeah, no, and I'm just looking at, it's a supportive comment there that's coming back from one of the other participants, just on that person who was experiencing the malicious rumors, and there's just some good guidance here. And it just says, workplace bullying is brutal, mostly happening due to jealousy within the workplace. Just remember, once you know the truth yourself, that is what you focus on. Brilliant. And then make a complaint to the management of that company, even if you're no longer working there, which is, yeah, this is good guidance. And where it goes, and make a complaint to the guards, you know, and tell them what's happening to you, you know, to you and your family. Because sometimes I know for me, when I have a problem, when I speak to somebody, I don't need the answer. Because nobody can fix me. I just need to talk about it, you know. And but that's brilliant guidance here, you know. So sometimes even just to have somebody, and it's back to that other comment about the listening piece and what can keep us safe and build our resilience and nourish, you know, our spirit and soul and align our heart and mind. But again, it's as it says here, it's easier said than done. But rise above the hate and bullying and support each other in the family. The truth will come out in the end. And I think there's many participants on here today, and everybody would support you in that and feel for you, agree with you, you know, that this is an awful thing to be going through. And it's just so sad that you've been put in this situation. But again, great comments.
Yeah, brilliant, Mike. And lovely to see, again, participants coming in to offer that support. And that's what we're all about in our workshops at Mid West ARIES. I suppose following on from that, you kind of touched a little bit on it. Can the panel share some examples of when you were resilient? So, Amy, would you like to just share an experience of times when you were resilient?
I remember a time in my life, Margaret, where I had very little motivation. I had lost interest in everything really, including myself and everything, you know, I used to enjoy. I'd wake up in the morning and like I'd see and I'd feel darkness, and that was it. And a friend said to me, you know, would I take up playing music again? I'd always loved music, but it had been a long time, you know, since I had played anything. So there was a music group running locally, and even though like I really didn't feel like going, you know, the energy just wasn't there. I pushed myself to make the effort and to go. And at that group, a ukulele was handed to me by the teacher, and the uplifting, happy, melodic sound of that instrument is exactly what my soul really was kind of calling out for. And I just noticed with every note and every song that I played, my mood got better and better. I loved going to the classes and meeting other people. So I suppose that's a time when I was resilient, Margaret, because even though I wasn't well at all at the time, I pushed myself to go to the music lessons. I stuck with it every week. And, today it just brings great joy into my life. I play it every day, and that really helps me to cope with everything that's going on around me.
That's a lovely example, Amy. And no more than yourself, music to me is just food for my soul. And going out in nature, they're kind of two things that really help build my resilience. So just resilience and self-care, they're kind of very closely linked. And but like that, when I go out in the morning going for my walk, I have the headphones on, and that's it, and I just get lost, and it just gives me that moment for me, and to kind of just turn down all the negative thinking, all that overwhelming stuff that's there. And mostly it's stuff. And another piece of advice I got that really has helped me over the last couple of years really is somebody said to me, well, look, you were worried about stuff this time last year. You were worried about stuff last week, but are you still worrying about the same stuff and it's made no difference? You know what I mean? It's that kind of thing. It's lovely story. Mike, do you want to add anything to that? Oh, you're just on mute there, Mike.
The Q&A there. And again, just on Amy there, just said, I had the same experience here in the QT unit. The activation staff have provided the ukulele. Now I with it and help my son who also wants to learn. Music is very important for the soul. And I think that was mentioned earlier about that aligning your spirit. Good stuff. And again, another comment there. Fantastic. Well done, Amy. Wonderful to hear. And I suppose I just mentioned earlier about, that there's stuff we've done and sometimes we're not aware of it. And it was only as part of managing my own well-being and recovery that I kind of tapped into it. So I'm going to tell you one of my old stories. And but it was a turning point in my life that I didn't realize. And I was 13. We were on summer holidays from school. This was the mid-70s when most people had nothing. And I don't think we were that happy either. So as people would say, we had nothing, but we were happy. But there was a couple of friends from school arrived at my house, and they were on bicycles, and I'm from Waterford, and they were heading out to Tramore to the beach. And they said, are you coming? I said, I have no bike. And there was a friend of my father in the house, and he overheard this conversation. So the two lads disappeared, and he came out to me and he says, you have no bicycle? He says, I can't believe that. And I said, well, I don't. And so he said, come with me. And he lived in a flat around the corner. And basically he gave me a man's 3-speed bicycle. And I had never been in the countryside and had no bicycle. And I literally took off and I headed down country roads I had never been on. And at one point I just stopped, and it was this run down where there's a village called Passages, and you're up on this big height. It's like a mountain, and you have this view down over the estuary. And I stopped, and I just was overcome with the beauty and the joy of just this vision. It was like being a child being in Disneyland. And so, and that was one of the most important turning points in my life. And because from that day on, and even when I became unwell, I was not aware that I was doing stuff all my life that was really beneficial, because that gave me exercise, getting out, space on my own, and a love of nature that I still have to this day. And I think when we talk about resilience, sometimes we have to acknowledge and even express gratitude. And I met that man, I'd say 30 years later, and just bumped into him. He was now an elderly man, and I just said, I want to thank you. You know, what you've done for me changed my life. And sometimes gratitude is a wonderful thing as well. It's around recognizing, you know, your own strengths, what you have, the things you do, the interest you have, the people you have in your life. Because what I found, when you ask for help, you know, people pull the rabbit out of the hat all of the time. And, you know, so I think it's, and that will help you build your resilience. And again, I know I'm going off on one, but I think it's just, that was a time, and it probably, when you think back then, what nourishes you now? You know, so it's stuff that we've had, has always gotten us through. Really important to look for that. So.
Thanks, Mike. That absolutely on the money, really, because again, it's a lovely segue into defining the strategies that we already have in our toolbox. And you've mentioned nature with music, walking. Eileen, would you like to share some of your strategies in terms of what do you use to build your resilience on an everyday basis?
Great, thanks, Margaret. Yeah, one thing I do every single morning actually is the minute I get up, I do 3 mantras. So one is for healing, one is for wisdom, and one is for strength. And then I do some exercises, some yoga exercises. And then during the day, I get out for a walk with Oscar, my dog, every day. I just, like Mike and yourself, Margaret, and Noelle and Amy, find nature just really nourishing. So it just really, it's that kind of peacefulness, and, you know, just, I think, you know, connecting with nature and animals, actually, there's just, it kind of just grounds me kind of physically. And then another thing that I actually do every day, I journal a lot. I try and kind of bring in, you know, the principles of time. So, you know, that connection, the hope, the identity and meaning, and writing really has given me so much meaning in my life. Every day I just practice gratitude, like Michael said, just for the people in my life, for the dog in my life, for, you know, my work team, you know, and I just think it's so important actually to kind of reflect, because there can be obviously a lot of things, and like everybody on the panel here this morning, like, you know, we're talking about resilience at Christmas, and I think Christmas is, you know, it can be a really tough time if you've had, depending on, you know, everyone's life experiences, and I just think sometimes reflecting back on the day and kind of, you know, I always kind of put something down to look forward to for tomorrow. I also, another kind of strategy, I've write a bit of poetry. I haven't shared that with anybody, I don't know. But yeah, again, it's just another thing that actually really kind of taps into my creative side. And like Mike would, you know, just remember meeting him and talking about painting and art. I just think we all have that creative side, and it's so important. I think the things when you were young, actually, you go back to, and it was actually walking down the fields, growing up in the country, actually being on my own, just looking at the birds and actually writing and art were always the things that actually really kind of nourished me. And actually I've kind of gone back to those as I've gotten older. You know, you get busy and work gets busy, but I think even for everyone, even on this morning, you know, Christmas you can get caught up in the consumerism and all that. I think it's really important to kind of just think of routine. For me, like in my self-care plan, is even if there's different occasions, I have to do the same things kind of every day. So the 3 things that always nourish me are the mantra, and again, me for mindfulness, I tried so many different mindfulnesses, and the mantras really work for me. And I suppose I was giving advice to anyone this morning, I'd say try everything. You know, there's so many different resources now, so I would say, and then I suppose the last thing is connection. I think it's really important. Like, it's hard with COVID-19 now to connect, but I do think there's loads of different ways of connecting with people, whether that's online or just even, you know, calling somebody. You know, again, this time of year, maybe like as Mike said, that man that gave him the bicycle, and, you know, sometimes some might come into your head, and maybe just connect with them. I think that's really important, and it kind of gives you a bit of meaning as well. So they'd be kind of the strategies I do. So I don't know if anyone else wants to jump in.
Just a couple of comments there have come in. Margaret has dropped out for the time being, so I'll take over in the hot seat. But again, just somebody commented there again on Amy and around, just found it just inspirational, and your love of music. And again, it really came across in what you had to say. So again, when we look at stuff, when we're trying to build our resilience, look at our strengths and look at what we enjoy. It doesn't have to be, life is hard enough, besides adding to it. And again, somebody else just put into the Q&A, just being in nature is very therapeutic, and there's just something wonderful about that, like the sounds, the feeling, just even the wind. And as I said, I still go for a cycle, and it's just out a country lane, and I stop at the same gate and I close my eyes and I just listen and breathe, and it is just grounding, just being there in that. It's just an amazing feeling. And again, somebody else is coming in. I'm very happy to see someone else with a personal trainer, aka a dog. And like it's one of the things in all our workshops that come up quite common, quite frequently, is that the need for a dog. So if anyone else has any questions and want to pop them into the Q&A, please do. And but just on that there about strategies, would anyone else like to come in on strategies that they have, or they use frequently or infrequently? Or
I suppose, Mike, as well, like gratitude is a huge thing for me, that I try to instill in my son as well, because it's very easy, like you said, get caught up with everything going on, but if you can have gratitude, you'll be grounded. And I think that's really important. And like, even with the connection, to make sure to connect with yourself. And we're never going to get time like we did this year to do that. Like someone had said, like the person had said earlier about your mind and your soul, and this is our time to do it, and maybe the world needed that this year, that we all needed to just stop and take that moment and take that breath. And I hope we carry that forward with us, but also in helping others, that to me, that's a huge thing. Help others, because that makes, takes the focus off your own problems and things, but also helping others helps you as well,
And I think that's one thing that I've noticed, and particularly people who become very unwell or maybe out of work and unemployed, that is a great way to build up your confidence, and that's your resilience, like, as well, to do a bit of voluntary work, join a men's shed group, get stuck into the community. And it really does. I would have done that. I joined the men's shed group as well when I was out of work. And but again, it's just crucial. There's something about connecting, and that can help us then with the support of others as well, that we can build up that resilience then, to get back in the fight. So, and a couple of comments in here then, again, writing is so therapeutic. I find that sometimes I don't have time to journal about the whole day, but instead write a short poem. So it's a bit like, as Eileen mentioned there, we'll be looking for some of those poems now, and and talk about the day, emotions felt, any experiences, good and bad. And I like that comment there on emotions, because again, like, the feelings are so important, and they're not tangible, but like they affect us and drive us, like, how we feel is really important. So I'm starting to write my first book, and a chapter title in it will be Resilience During Crisis. Very good. And another one coming in on Eileen there. Eileen, that is great advice. I cannot get my head into journaling, but practicing gratitude has helped me change my thought process this year. And again, I challenge, and again, I get that around the writing, because again, as I mentioned, we've all started as a team doing rap. I've talked for years about my own mental health and well-being. It's the first time I've actually put something in writing, and it's really, and I kind of challenged in that again. So because again, it's so, and then something maybe with building resilience. So like that is, try something new. If you find what hasn't worked in the past is not work, or what has worked in the past is not working now, give something else a go. Yeah, good stuff. Anyone else want to add in? Because we're getting towards the end there. Before we move on to the next slide.
Just checking in there, Mike, about the mindfulness video. Don't know if that.
Yeah. Noelle is going to pop that up. So we have a co-production slide first. So again, it's just before we move to that. So again, we do have a slide and it's just in our own co-production on this subject, and it's kind of tips and tools and strategies. So we might just go to that. So yeah, brilliant. Fantastic. So again, when we held our co-production just on that, so this is, I always say, it was just other people in a different setting, and this is what they said. Because I will always care to say that, when, particularly for people when they come to workshops in the beginning, that like, this is, when we mentioned the word co-production, it's not the gold standard, it's just what people said. So, and again, this has come up here again about that balance. Take note of what, you know, nourishes your resilience and what drains. So again, good stuff that has come up. Breathing exercises, meditation, and even the mantras, as Eileen mentioned, and seek support. So there's something about when you can't do it for yourself, ask for the help. Exercises being mentioned. And again, I like this one, organize something so that you can have some fun, because I know even here in the office, like, you know, we just have a laugh, you know, and yes, it's, you know, but when you're looking at people's, you know, mental health and trying to manage it, sometimes you just don't, when you're not well, you don't feel like having a laugh, or if you do, you can feel guilty about it. And learn from the past. And as I always say on learning from the past, we learn from reflecting on the past. You know, so again, give it a little bit of thought. Set healthy boundaries, good stuff as well. Self-care strategies, and I suppose we've had that conversation about, you know, doing stuff or sharing stuff, and then break down challenges. And some people like the list mentality. So if you can break it down into components and deal with what, work on what you can.
Mike, you're freezing there now. Mike, just
do now and what you can't do, managing your thoughts, and you know, because again, we've all had that, you know, we might think.
Sorry, Mike just broke down there. Yeah, so to break down the challenges, check the facts. I think that's a really good one. Always, because, you know, don't always believe what you think, you know what I mean? You know, always check the facts. Is this really true? And I suppose even like the person who messaged in about having, you know, someone saying those things about them, you know, it's not true. You know your self-worth, you know. Oh, there's Mike.
Yeah, thanks, Noelle. Sorry. Took over again. So not only Margaret is having the tech problems, and I just, this is one of the things that challenges us all on Zoom, and I think thank people for their patience. And so again, around positive thinking techniques, and again, so different strategies on that. So again, we just said we thought we'd bring in a co-production element to the conversation today, which is really good. So again, so we're at the end. And there's been some brilliant chat, great conversation here, and thank people, you know, on the panel for sharing as well. So we're going to wrap it up. So again, we're going to play a mindful breathing exercise video. And as Margaret said at the front, it's only 3 minutes long. And so just to give it a go. And Margaret is coming back in here now again. And but this is a really nice, I like this one. We use it in our workshops. And again, a lot of the, you know, they're similar, you know, exercises or breathing exercises or those kind of mindfulness tools, and they're available online, they're on YouTube, and really worth a look at. So again, it's there's stuff there that, again, there's resources that we can tap into it. So so Margaret, are you back yet?
Okay. Just if you could just look at the, is there any Q&As there's left just while I'm setting that up,
Yeah,
Mike?
just have a quick
and
look.
Apologies, guys, this is just the way it is, unfortunately, with Zoom sometimes. It kicks you out and you just have to, this is resilience in action here.
Just comment there, I think Noelle's point about deep consideration of others, that natural human empathy is what the Dalai Lama calls his religion, in one word, kindness, and this is profound. And I think that's probably, most people here today would probably be like that, and we put other people's needs in front of our own at different times. And, you know, and as I would say in my recovery and well-being, what's helped me most, it's kindness. and we all respond to kindness. Even the dogs were up for mention earlier, and the pets. But when you look at that, like that unconditional love, they respond to kindness, you know, as well as, and we're all human and as well, and we respond to kindness too. And again, another comment there. Thank you very much. I really enjoyed the session. So, Margaret, give it a go.
We'll give it a go after that. Those last, I've had to dig out all my resilience to try and get back in here. So I could really do with this mindful breathing now. So I hope you join with us, and I hope it works. Please, guys, in terms of panelists, just give me a thumbs up if it does play and you can hear it. So just 3 minutes. It's a timeout. Let's just stop, breathe, and think. And it's actually, this is a YouTube video, and we'll make sure that Michaela shares that with you when she's sending out the link to the next event. It's from an actual app called Stop, Breathe, and Think, which is really a nice one if you want to check it out. Okay, let's go.
Mindful breathing. Close your eyes and rest your hands on your knees. Bring your attention to the touch of your body on your seat. Feel the weight of your body on your chair or cushion. Make sure that your back is straight and that you're comfortable. Take a few deep breaths. While you're breathing deeply, relax your shoulders, your stomach muscles, the muscles in your face, your hands, and your legs. Let go of all the tightness in your body. Now bring your attention back to your breath. Notice what it feels like as it enters through your nose, goes down through your throat, filling your lungs, and back out through your nose. Notice your stomach and chest rise and fall each time you breathe in and each time you breathe out. And just allow your breathing to be natural and relaxed. Now bring your attention to the feeling of your breath in your nose. Feel your breath as it comes in and goes out. Just focus on this sensation, paying attention to each time you breathe in and each time you breathe out. As you inhale, maybe your breath feels cool. And as you exhale, maybe it feels a little warmer. When your mind wanders, or if you become distracted, just notice what's going on in your head, and then gently bring your attention back to your breath, going in and out. Focus on the feeling of your breath and allow thoughts and feelings to come and go in the background. Now gently bring your attention back to the touch of your body on your seat and open your eyes.
Well, how did you all find that? I think it was much needed given this morning. Just before I hand you back to Aisling, firstly, apologies for bouncing out. I'm really disappointed that I couldn't have been here for the last 10 minutes of what I can only imagine was some great discussion. And thanks to Mike, who always has my back. I really appreciate that, Mike, for stepping in at such short notice and not knowing what was happening. So thank you for that. And
Noelle came in for me there, and the last comment there, just in the Q&A, was in dog we trust.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I suppose just again, what I would say to you is, take something away from today. I know I'm going to take away something from today, which is I'm going to forgive myself for my laptop just suddenly having a moment. And I had to move to a different laptop. So I'm going to forgive myself that, and I'm going to look after myself today. And, you know, we did okay. And I'm going to give a hug to all of the panelists because they were so good. And thank you so much for coming in today and sharing your wisdom. And thanks to the participants as well. Some great comments there, Mike. Absolutely fantastic. I know, Aisling, we need to finish up, so I'm going to pass it over to you. But a big thank you to you to look after us and for inviting us to take part in these webinars. They're absolutely brilliant, and thanks so much.
You are very welcome, Margaret, and I can't take any credit for today because you were just amazing, and the technical hitches that go with Zoom, etc. really, as you say, do build your resilience. So don't worry about it at all. So just a couple of quick things before we finish up. I suppose a few points that I took from this morning's session. So conversations that connect is the theme of our webinar series, and I think that was so evident this morning in your session. And a few different kind of I suppose snippets I took were connect with yourself and others. So that's so important to your resilience. We are doing things every day that are building resilience and we don't even know it. So the everydayness that you mentioned, Margaret, reaching into our resilience toolkit and always adding to that toolkit. So I suppose there are different things as we go through life that will help to add to our toolkit. And sometimes you don't need to answer, you just need to talk. I really like that one. And finally, creativity nourishes you. So just some fabulous bits there. So I will just finish off with our last slide. Thanks, Niall. So I want to thank everyone who attended today, and please fill out your evaluation form, and this will help us to plan future webinars. And please email mheengage@hse.ie to be added to our mailing list, and please see the below contact details for some more supports that are available. So finally, I just want to say a huge thank you to Margaret, Mike, Amy, Eileen and Noelle for a fantastic webinar this morning on resilience. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.